It all starts with this guy breaking out in a cold sweat as he realizes he's been transported to another world, just like in the books. After 9 long years of hard work, he had finally gotten somewhere he wanted to be. But it was only at that moment that the young man discovered this wasn't a normal world like he thought. With that, his expression changes completely, and he's left totally confused by what happened around him. He then wonders if this might be a cultivation world, but a system informs him of an error. The guy falls to the ground in despair, having wasted 9 years of his life studying for absolutely nothing. However, he remembers that in all cultivation stories, the protagonist has an absurd talent. So the scene takes us to the spiritual root assessment ceremony for new disciples. However, to our friend's surprise, he ends up discovering that he doesn't have a spiritual root. Completely devastated, he yells that he wants to go back to Earth because this story is very different. As he's lamenting, a mysterious man approaches and makes him a very interesting offer. The young man is surprised by the question and doesn't quite understand what the stranger means by it. At this moment, we are taken to the Blue Cloud Taoist sect, a very beautiful place in the mountains. There we meet the sect master Taoist Taihua, who has a mission for his disciple, Changju. But in reality, the old man is desperate and begs his disciple for help while crying. Su Changju, the senior brother, seems very calm and asks what could be so important. The master explains that a new rule will shut down all unranked sects like theirs. He says the competition is fierce, with other sects fighting for new disciples at the event. Some sects were even using pretty girls to entice young men to join them. The young women were offering dual cultivation to convince the guys to join their sects quickly. In the end, the master says he managed to recruit a boy named Yiping, even though he's inexperienced. Yiping gets super excited and says money doesn't matter as long as he learns to cultivate. Changji then warns that if the boy realizes the sect is weak, he will definitely leave right away. But the master reveals his brilliant idea, which is for everyone to pretend they are super powerful experts. The older brother thinks the idea is a bit silly and figures he just needs to play the big shot to fool the rookie. With that, he asks his master what the other, younger disciples call him around there. With a very sinister look and his eyes glowing, he makes it clear that his reputation in the sect is not small. On Qingshan Mountain, he proclaims himself the great and only king of showmanship to everyone. He brags that when it comes to showing off, if he's second, no one dares to be first. The master feels a bit awkward with his pose and wonders if that's something to be proud of. The old man then says that Changju just needs to keep the new disciple motivated for only 1 year. But the eldest disciple thinks that's too short and immediately rejects the idea with conviction. He says that now, with him in charge, this goal of stringing the boy along for a year is too small. With a little effort, he guarantees the rookie will want to be their disciple even in his next life. The master is impressed and admits that the guy's reputation as the king of showmanship is well deserved. The senior brother swears that if he fails the mission, he'll swallow his own sword, sauce and all. He says goodbye and mentions that he'll wait for the rookie on the back mountain at night to begin. The guy refuses a ride from his master, saying dramatically that he no longer needs it. He thinks he's no longer the disciple who needed a ride from his master to get places. Then, with a firm gesture, he points forward, showing all of his great determination. The master is shocked by his disciple's gesture and wonders what he's going to do next. Changju speaks mysteriously about the arrival of a new golden era for their sect. With a shout, he summons his sword, and a powerful aura begins to emanate from his entire body. Taiwa screams in shock as he realizes his disciple is using the sword flight technique. The master doesn't understand how the guy learned this, since he was useless for 10 long years. Then, the older brother makes a very rude gesture at his master, showing off his power. With that, the old man becomes thoughtful and starts to question his disciple's true abilities. But Changju starts to laugh and admits he was just showing off and will still need a ride. As night falls on top of the back mountain, the full moon illuminates a sky filled with dark clouds. High up, a man is sitting alone, waiting amidst the impressive night scenery. He's shivering from the cold, wearing his special outfit from the Blue Province Sword Tournament. The spot was handpicked to create the perfect atmosphere, but he ends up sneezing from the cold. Suddenly, he senses someone approaching, and his expression shifts to one of seriousness. The guy quickly gets ready and assumes a battle stance to impress the rookie. Meanwhile, Yiping arrives with difficulty and complains that the mountain is ridiculously high. The rookie is amazed when he sees the imposing figure of his senior brother waiting for him. Changju stands with his back to him, his hair blowing in the wind, looking like a true, powerful immortal master. His serious and focused face projects an image of great power and wisdom to the young man. The rookie observes his older brother, who is surrounded by a blue aura of pure spiritual energy. Then, the show-off master holds his staff, which starts to crackle with blue lightning all over. Yiping's jaw drops, and he wonders if the guy in front of him is really a sword immortal. But he soon becomes suspicious, because a sect that accepts a useless person with no spiritual power should be very weak. So why would they have a disciple with such an impressive and powerful presence like this one? At that moment, the boy is shocked and starts to think that maybe there's more to this story. He imagines that the sect looks small on the outside but is actually a super powerful and secret place. The rookie then believes he has joined one of those legendary hidden sects that exist in books. All excited, he thinks that everyone there is a master who will lead him to glory with a single move. With that, he starts to remember when he joined the sect with the master earlier that day. The guy remembers having an overwhelming feeling of decay upon seeing the completely run-down place. He wonders how a cultivation sect could be so worn out like that, with no one taking care of it. But even with that air of abandonment, he noticed that every corner was spotless, which was strange. All of this indicates that something is out of the ordinary, that they are keeping a low profile on purpose. He gets excited and says that even 3 million sword immortals would have to bow their heads to him. Changju finds the boy interesting and decides to steal his cool line to use in the future as well. He then says that since he was complimented, it would be rude not to return the favor to his new junior brother. The older brother warns that he hasn't prepared anything, but will give the rookie a unique opportunity. Then, he unleashes a blast of blue energy that sends poor Yiping flying away with great force. The boy's eyes go wide, not understanding the absurd strength of that sudden and powerful attack. Changju explains that the breeze is a secret art of good fortune that increases one's cultivation talent. The rookie is in shock, as a simple breeze that improves talent isn't something from an ordinary sect. Yiping thanks him very politely, and Changju hides the pain in his arm from having overdone it with the force. The older brother panics inwardly because it was just a breeze, and the rookie actually believed it. Changju then sits down and says he needs to ask a question before teaching the way of the sword. The rookie gets excited because he remembers that in books, masters always ask an important question. He then asks what the pinnacle of the sword is, in the new junior brother's opinion. Changju thinks that no matter the answer, he'll show off his superior wisdom anyway. With a serious expression, Yiping begins to think deeply about the pinnacle of the sword. He feels that the question is perfect and that it has a very profound meaning behind it. The guy is sure that he's a hidden master and wonders how to answer something so complex. He thinks a common answer would be too shallow and that he needs to be very careful with what he says. An hour passes and Changju gets irritated and is freezing while the rookie is still thinking about the answer. Finally, the boy says that the pinnacle of the sword is to use a blade of grass to cut the sun and the moon. The older brother is completely shocked by the unexpected and super profound answer from the guy. He starts to imagine a single blade of grass being used with such immense power. The scene shows the world being cut in half by this technique of unimaginable and absurd power. He freaks out inside, thinking that he has practiced for 20 years and never imagined something so grand. Yiping gets worried and asks if he overdid it with his answer, hoping he didn't annoy his brother. Changju thinks the boy is pretty cool and decides that this golden phrase now belongs to him. He composes himself and says the rookie exaggerated and is aiming too high, which makes the boy agree. With a sly smile, Changju prepares to teach the guy, drawing his sword. Changju then makes a powerful slash with his sword, creating a large wave of blue energy. He says he will leave a sword mark for the rookie that looks ordinary, but it's not quite like that. In it lies the most powerful sword intent in the world, and the time to understand it depends on one's talent. Yiping is overjoyed and is now certain that he has joined a hidden sect full of masters. Meanwhile, the older brother runs off excitedly to show off to his second junior brother. But when he arrives, he finds a mysterious girl sitting on a rock in the middle of the bamboo forest. The young woman then asks what he thought of the new junior brother's talent, who just arrived at the sect. With a smile on her face, the girl greets her senior brother with a friendly wave. Changju accuses her of spying again, but she says she was just curious about the rookie's arrival. He then decides to let it go for now and asks her to go with him to another place. With a very serious look, he says he has a question about how powerful the pinnacle of the sword is. The girl is completely confused by what he's saying and wonders what this has to do with her. He then recites the phrase he stole from the rookie about cutting the sun and the stars with a blade of grass. The junior sister is left completely speechless and impressed by her brother's super profound phrase. She compliments his art of playing the big shot, and he strikes a smug pose at her praise. But he gets serious again and asks her to answer the question he had asked before. He asks how long she thinks it will take the rookie to understand the sword intent. With that, he admits even he can't properly understand the basic sword intent. The girl looks astonished and asks if he's pulling her leg. 2 hours later, on top of the back mountain, we see the rookie is still there meditating. Yiping is super focused, trying to understand the so-called sword mark his senior brother left. But he starts to find it all a bit strange and wonders if maybe he was tricked by the guy. However, the boy scolds himself for doubting a master as incredible as his senior brother. With that, he convinces himself that the problem is his own lack of effort and becomes super determined. His eyes begin to glow as he stares at the mark on the ground with all his willpower. The guy doesn't give up and remains focused on the simple sword mark to understand its secret. Suddenly, a mysterious figure with a blue aura appears reflected in his watchful eye. This same figure emerges in his mind, surrounded by a super powerful and imposing spiritual energy. The mysterious swordsman holds a long sword that is crackling with a lot of bluish energy. Then he begins to demonstrate various sword techniques in a simply breathtaking way. His movements are so fast that they create trails of blue and purple light everywhere. With this, the rookie feels as if a large bell has rung right next to his ears. 4 styles and 12 different techniques start to become clearer and clearer in his mind. It was as if he himself had drawn a sword and started practicing all those movements. The figure demonstrated the techniques over and over again for the boy to learn every detail. He saw everything a second time, and then a third, getting used to the movements. The strikes became faster and faster with each repetition inside his focused mind. The young man then starts to practice faster and faster along with the mysterious figure. Soon, more and more techniques begin to emerge, going from 12 to 15 in a short time. In the blink of an eye, the guy had already learned a total of 20 different techniques. All that intense knowledge flooded the boy's mind at once, leaving him dazed. He sits on top of the mountain, not quite understanding what had just happened there. With wide eyes, he realizes that all of this can only be the work of his senior brother. The guy never imagined that a simple breeze could increase someone's talent so much like that. With tears in his eyes, he cries with happiness for finally having good luck after so much bad luck in his life. But he calms down and convinces himself that this is just the beginning and that the mark will help him much more. 7 days later, at the senior brother's residence, we see a beautiful scene in the Sex Mountains. Inside is Su Changju's display case filled with shiny and fancy accessories. He picks up one of his items and prepares for another day of showing off, as usual. Dressed in a very elegant outfit, he is ready to go out and impress the new junior brother. He looks at the beautiful day and thinks it's the perfect opportunity to show off a little. So he sets off, all excited to find the rookie and show how amazing he can be. The guy walks across a bridge over a waterfall, looking like a true immortal master. But in reality, he is exhausted and regrets choosing such a faraway place to go. He gets annoyed that everyone thinks sword training is easy when it's actually very tiring. 7 days ago, he had admitted to his junior sister that he didn't understand sword intent. The girl found that very disappointing since he's been training for so long and still hasn't learned. He gets angry at her comment and starts flicking his little sister on the head. Changju brags that the Four Thunders sword style he practices is one of the top 10. The style focuses on strength and yang energy, divided into 4 forms that summon the thunder of the seasons. Changju explains the levels of his technique, and his sister asks what his current level is. A map shows that he has only mastered the first form, but he brags about his future progress. With a very scary look, he says she will see what he is capable of, and the girl gets scared. Then the sister asks what level of talent the rookie would have if he understood sword intent on his own. The older brother starts laughing, finding the idea completely impossible and absurd to even consider. He explains that in the path of the sword, the style is secondary, as the most important thing is the intent. Only a few geniuses have managed to get close to the level of infinite sword intent. But the girl insists and asks what the rookie's level would be if he achieved this feat. Changju says it's impossible, because not even the greatest genius of the last 500 years would be capable of it. 7 days pass, and the older brother goes up the mountain to see how the rookie is doing. Upon arriving, he wonders if his junior brother has woken up after meditating for so long. He finds Yi Ping on the ground with huge dark circles under his eyes, looking like he hasn't slept in days. The rookie gets up with an exhausted but very determined and focused expression. Changju is completely shocked by the boy's appearance and wonders what happened. He panics, thinking the crazy guy became obsessed with the sword mark, which was fake. With that, he starts to feel super guilty for having tricked the poor guy like that. For the good of the sect, he decides to let it go and promises to make it up to the boy later. Yi Ping gets up looking worn out, but is happy to see that his senior brother has finally come. Changju awkwardly adjusts himself and asks how the training has been for the new disciple. The rookie says he understood everything, and Changju was about to say it's normal not to understand, but is interrupted. Changju is shocked and asks if the rookie really understood what he had given him. Yi Ping confirms and says he understood a total of 400 sword movements in just that one day. The older brother starts laughing uncontrollably, thinking the rookie is delusional about the whole thing. The rookie doesn't understand the reason for the laughter and wonders what's so funny about it. He thinks that maybe 400 movements are too few for an expert like his senior brother. Yi Ping concludes that with his help, anyone with talent could learn over 1,000 in a single day. With that, he feels like a weakling for having learned so little compared to a master. Changju says he doesn't need to lie and that it's normal not to understand because the technique is very difficult. But the rookie insists he's not lying and that he really did learn 400 movements. The boy gets sad and asks if his senior brother doesn't think he's worthy of learning so much. He says that with the opportunity he received, 400 isn't such an absurd number. The older brother gets angry at him for underestimating the path of the sword in that way. Changju remembers everyone who underestimated him, and this makes him genuinely angry with the guy. He then decides he's going to teach the boy a lesson so he learns to respect the path of the sword. Yi Ping accepts the challenge and grabs his sword, ready to show his brother what he has learned. The two face each other on the mountaintop under the blue sky and white clouds of the scenery. The rookie draws his sword, which begins to glow with an intense yellow and golden energy. His eyes also glow with the same energy as yellow lightning crackles on his blade. Then he starts to execute one of the movements he learned with impressive speed. The boy makes a powerful slash that releases a wave of golden energy toward his brother. The rookie's sword style was incredibly fast and fluid, like clouds and flowing water. In the blink of an eye, he had already reached the 26 movement with total perfection. Changju just watches the strikes with a serious expression, showing no apparent reaction. He continues to analyze each of the guy's movements, who demonstrates impressive skill. With a very funny face, the older brother seems to be holding himself back from freaking out. The rookie's techniques became increasingly fast and intense with each executed movement. Even upon reaching the 36th movement, he showed no sign of stopping there. The boy continues his sequence of strikes with simply breathtaking speed and power, until he releases an explosion of golden energy that spreads throughout the area. With that, he reaches the 108th movement of the sword technique he had learned. At the same time, a thunderclap suddenly rings out in the sky, creating a great yellow flash. Su Changju is completely surprised by the scene of lightning bolts gathering to form something. That image of a thunder dragon was something he had already seen in his dreams. The dragon's roar echoes throughout the mountain, making the scene even more impressive. Paralyzed, he is so shocked by what he sees that he can barely breathe properly at the moment. That was the sign that the Four Thunders sword style had reached its grand conclusion. He yells that it's impossible as his dream was to master the technique, and now a rookie has done it. The older brother can't believe the boy achieved such a feat in 7 days. But the surprises didn't stop there, and a new green thunder dragon appears in the sky. And right after, the autumn dragon also appears, almost at the same time as the second one. The roars of the dragons were so loud that the valleys trembled in an event never seen before. Even so, the rookie didn't slow down and continued to execute the movements even faster. His strikes became increasingly swift, creating trails of golden light everywhere. In the end, his movements became just a blur because of how fast he was moving. With that, the most powerful style of the sword art, the Winter Thunder, was also awakened. This sword reached the grand conclusion, but had a different feeling from the other 3. The older brother starts to break out in a cold sweat from the intensity of his junior brother's new technique. He felt as if a harsh winter had fallen and all life around him had been extinguished. Yiping only stopped at the 432nd movement, ending his demonstration. Changju's jaw drops, unable to believe what he just witnessed right in front of him. The rookie had completely mastered the 4 styles of the Four Thunder sword art. But he didn't move and started to think that he was relying too much on just the form of the sword. He realizes he was stuck on the form and needed to look beyond the object and contemplate the body. With that, he says he understood what his brother really wanted to teach with that training. The older brother is completely confused, not understanding what the boy is talking about now. Yiping then prepares to try out his new discovery about the sword of the Son of Heavens. With his hands, he forms an arrow of light that shines intensely with incredible power. The arrow shoots towards a rock and causes a huge explosion of light and energy. Changju freaks out, unable to believe the rookie had another epiphany just from demonstrating the movements. The Winter Thunder Sword seemed like the pinnacle of destruction and passing for the senior brother. But the new aura was the complete opposite, one of renewal and life, as if 10,000 years had passed. An infinite and vibrant energy took over the place, creating a giant tree of green light. Changju felt as if the formless sword in front of him was his own cultivation world. It was as if a single move could topple entire armies at once. He becomes desperate as he realizes what that could mean for his junior brother. With wide eyes, he wonders if what the rookie achieved was the sword intent. The senior brother observes the guy's power with an expression of total and absolute shock. But the feeling passes, and Yiping can no longer feel any of that terrifying power. He is startled by the power and laments that his talent is too weak for it to last so short a time. Changju is sweating bullets, wondering how the rookie can think he's weak after all that. He remembers when he was little and had the luck to see the Void Sword just once. He believes that the infinite sword intent goes beyond the Jin realm or even the 10 realms. Yiping promises to try even harder so as not to disappoint his senior brother in the future. The older brother thinks that even if he trained his whole life, he couldn't catch up to the rookie. With that, he turns and says that the guy is indeed average, making him a little sad. He wonders what he is if the rookie is average, since the difference between them is absurd. Changju notices something shining on top of a rock and asks his brother what it is. Yiping approaches and says it's just a notebook with some notes from his cultivation. The older brother asks to take a look at the notebook, and the rookie hands it over shyly. With a serious expression, he begins to flip through the notebook to see his brother's notes. The rookie's notes were incredibly profound, with principles the senior brother had never seen. He recognized each ideogram separately, but together they seemed as deep as the universe. Changju didn't understand anything but was completely shaken by his junior brother's wisdom. The rookie says they are just silly assumptions and don't come close to what he really wanted to convey. The older brother doesn't understand how the boy achieved enlightenment of the Tao just like that. He trained for over 10 years and barely managed to learn the initial stage of the spring technique. Deep down, he feels like a failure because being a man in this world is truly unfair. Changju tells the boy to continue with his enlightenment, and that he will be back in a few days to see him. Yiping gets worried, thinking his senior brother got tired of his weak talent and is going to kick him out. He starts begging not to be kicked out, as he finally found someone who accepted him. The guy remembers going to more than 50 ceremonies, and no sect accepted him for being weak. He wonders if he's the type to have a sudden enlightenment just by looking at the sky. But no matter what happens, he decides to seize this chance with everything he's got and not give up. At the sect master's residence, we see a peaceful and beautiful place on top of a mountain. The master is relaxing and drinking some tea while enjoying the flowers in the good weather. Suddenly, one of his disciples bursts in, screaming in desperation that they have a big problem. Changju arrives in a panic and tells his master that something very serious has just happened. He says that the master's dream is about to come true and that the sect will raise a real dragon. The master's eyes widen in surprise at the shocking news his disciple has brought. The old man is confused and asks what he's talking about, as he doesn't understand the dragon story. Changju explains that the new junior brother mastered the 4 sword techniques in 7 days. The master is confused and asks if he's being serious about the rookie being a genius. He then scolds his disciple for lying about something as serious as mastering the technique. The old man says he thought it was some advanced expert breaking through near the sect. Upon seeing the thunder dragon, he realizes it was little Yiping causing it all along. With tears in his eyes, the master cries with happiness that his sect has finally revealed a genius. He gets so excited that his disciple has to calm him down so the excitement doesn't turn into a tragedy. The old man splashes water on his head and remembers that a fortune teller predicted a calamity for him. Changju worries about delaying the rookie's growth, but the master has other plans. He says that being chosen by them is a blessing and that the boy's destiny is to be there. The master decides that when the sect ranks up, he will tell the rookie the whole truth. Changju agrees to follow all of his master's decisions and to keep everything a secret. The next day, the master is again relaxing and enjoying the quiet afternoon at the sect. But his disciple comes running and shouting that they have a big problem again. The older brother enters, desperate and out of breath, saying that a disaster has struck the sect. The master just watches calmly while sipping his tea, unfazed by the drama. He decides he's going to hide for a bit and asks Changju to take care of the sect in his place. The disciple is confused and asks why all the panic if it's not about debt collectors. The master gives Changju a knock on the head for nearly scaring him to an early grave with all that fuss. The scene takes us back to the beautiful and peaceful residence of the sect master in the mountains. The master asks what happened and Changju hands him a paper, saying it's better if he sees for himself. The sect management office is going to conduct a full investigation of all unranked sects. In 2 months, the sect needs to hand over 10 spirit stones to prove they aren't a fraud. The master is outraged by the tax demand and says he's going to the capital to file a complaint. In the cultivation world, 1 copper coin buys only 1 steam bun, nothing more. 10,000 copper coins are worth 100 silver coins or a single gold coin in this universe. And it takes 10 gold coins to get a single low-grade spirit stone. The sect would have to go hungry for a whole year to gather the 10 spirit stones. Changju asks how many spirit stones they have in the sect to try and solve the problem. The master strikes a strange pose and shows the number 7 with his fingers to his disciple. The older brother thinks it's 70 stones and says that's more than enough for them. He then asks if it's 7 coins and the master remains silent with a tearful face. Changju despairs seeing the master collapsed on the floor and asks if it's 70 silver coins. He screams when he finds out the sect has only 70 copper coins in its reserves. The disciple doesn't understand how this is possible, since no matter how simple, they are still a sect. The master explains that he heard about something called a Pix vulture and thought it was a good investment. Changju is confused by the strange name and wonders what the heck a Pix vulture is. The old man says he managed to get a spot to invest with great difficulty because demand was high. But within a few days, the scammers vanished with all the money, leaving everyone high and dry. With his eyes full of tears, he asks for a consoling hug from his disciple after the scam. Changju laments that the sect is completely screwed and thinks about shutting it all down for good. But the master says he will take responsibility and go to the Jinglan Mountains if he has to. Suddenly, a large blue flash with lightning streaks across the sky, startling them both. The master is surprised and doesn't understand what's happening with that strange phenomenon. Changju recognizes the direction of the flash as being his junior brother's house and gets worried. He wonders what that was in the sky, if perhaps the rookie has leveled up again. The master thinks it's impossible, as not even geniuses are so absurd as to advance that quickly. He decides to go down the mountain to borrow spirit stones from some acquaintances. 7 days later, on the back mountain, we see the continuation of the new disciple's training. The rookie is practicing sword movements with impressive speed and precision. He creates new sword movements with incredible ease with each passing day of training. Changju realizes that the strange phenomenon was indeed another breakthrough from his junior brother. The pressure of having a genius as a younger brother begins to weigh on his shoulders. The rookie greets his senior brother, who asks him to report on how his training is going. Yiping says he has comprehended all 1,460 sword movements he learned. The older brother starts to cry with envy, not imagining the rookie would go so far. He then begins to explain about the force and intent of the sword to his junior brother. The rookie feels like a failure for not being a real sword cultivator yet. The older brother realizes he needs to come up with a convincing story to avoid being found out. Yiping then asks what level his senior brother is at now, to have a basis for comparison. Changju strikes an imposing pose and prepares to answer his junior brother's question. He shows off, saying he has just entered the first stage of the legendary Supreme Sword Dao. The rookie is amazed by the impressive name and says he will follow his brother forever. Changju explains that just by entering this realm, a person becomes the greatest expert in the 10 realms. Yiping is shocked to learn that his senior brother is, at the very least, the strongest in the 10 realms. He gets excited at the idea of becoming the second strongest if he learns everything from his master. The rookie promises to follow in his footsteps and achieve the infinite sword intent one day. He feels like he's in a dream, being in his sect learning swordsmanship after being a nobody. The sunset bathes the blue cloud peak, and the mountains glow with an intense red. The older brother looks at the scenery with a serene and thoughtful expression at the moment. He asks if it's true that the rookie was a scholar before coming to their sect. Changju then suggests they make a painting for him as a memento for the future. With a sly look, he thinks that when the rookie becomes famous, the painting will be worth a fortune. Ye Ping agrees to make the painting but asks his brother not to mind if it doesn't turn out well. In his past life, he joined a painting club just to impress a girl. But in the end, after 3 years of practice, she ended up with a rich hair. He learned the hard way that learning to paint doesn't save a guy from being single. An hour later, the rookie returns with the finished painting to give to his senior brother. Changju observes his brother with a smile on his face as he waits to see the result. He thinks that the focused guy has a certain charm and is almost as handsome as he is. The rookie hands over the painting he finished to his senior brother, looking a bit embarrassed. Changju takes the scroll and opens it to see the work of art his junior brother made for him. His eyes widen in surprise as he sees the impressive quality of the guy's painting. The painting depicts the older brother in an imposing pose with a golden sunset background. Inside the scroll, the evening glow covers the entire sky in a very realistic way. The blue cloud mountain looks like a paradise with very vivid flowers, grass, and trees. The details of the painting are so perfect that they seem more real than the world itself. But what stands out most in the portrait is the imposing figure of the senior brother in the center. Just from the profile, you can feel the sharp and imposing aura of a true sword immortal. The image looks like it's going to leap out of the painting and land a punch right in the chest of whoever is looking. The older brother admits the painting is incredible, and that the only flaw is that he's too handsome in it. Ye Ping thanks him for the compliment and says the painting is a gift to thank him for his teachings. Changju then notices something written in the bottom right corner of the painting's scroll. There, it's written, Scholar of the Blue Lotus, which makes the older brother very intrigued by the name. He wonders what the heck Scholar of the Blue Lotus means and who this person could be. Suddenly, he receives a voice transmission from his master, who has an idea to save the sect. Changju wonders what solution the master could have for the absurd debt they have. He takes the painting and says goodbye to the rookie, saying he'll take it with him to keep it safe. Meanwhile, at the Heavenly Moon Sword sect, a pink lightning dragon appears in the sky. The majestic and powerful creature flies through the heavens with an aura of pure pink and purple energy. On the Sword Comprehension Mountain, we see a purple mark glowing with intense lightning. A guy is impressed by the mark left by the ancestor of the 4 seasons there on the rock. A girl says that sword marks from any random swordsman wouldn't be worth their time. Suddenly, the mark on the mountain releases a large amount of pink and purple energy into the sky. One of the guys shouts with joy for finally having understood the sword technique. He brags about having reached the grand conclusion of the Spring Thunder Sword as if it were nothing. Another disciple is impressed by the strength of senior brother Xu Heng, who achieved the feat. The girl comments that he achieved in 1 year what a genius would take 3 years to accomplish. The disciples watch with admiration as their senior brother demonstrates incredible talent. Xu Heng's master congratulates him and says he might even get first place in the tournament. The guy smiles proudly and says it was nothing special to reach the grand conclusion. But another master says that the Blue Province is full of hidden masters and it's too early to celebrate. He implies that the other elder's disciples have barely passed the initial stage after a year. The elder gets angry at the irony and asks how he dares to be so cheeky with him. One of the disciples breaks up the fight and reminds them they need to get into the top 10 no matter what. The other elder is confused and asks why they need to be among the top 10 so badly. The guy explains that whoever places in the top 10 will win a token for the Taichuan Sword Tower. The 2 elders are surprised and excited by the news of the provincial tournament's reward. The Taichuan Sword Tower is a legendary place, and entering it is a unique and valuable opportunity. Xu Heng's master is super confident and says that he and his disciple will definitely make it into the top 10. The other elder tells him not to get ahead of himself, as it would be a shame to lose to a disciple from a small sect. But Xu Heng's master guarantees that if someone from outside the 3 great sects defeats him, he'll clean their bathrooms. Back at the Blue Cloud sect, in the master's residence, the afternoon sun illuminates the beautiful scenery. Changju and his master are talking about the debt and the complicated situation they're in. The disciple is shocked to see his master's idea for getting money for the sect. The table is filled with old junk like pots, teapots, and ancient coins of little value. Changju doesn't understand how they're going to make money with that pile of trash the master gathered. The old man says the solution is to pawn everything, and that those are the sect's most valuable treasures. The older brother refuses to humiliate himself by taking those things to a pawn shop. The master then notices the painting his disciple is holding and asks what it is. He takes the scroll and carries it away, telling him to pawn it along with the rest of the stuff. The 2 arrive at the Lakei pawn shop, a place with very traditional architecture. A man greets them with great enthusiasm and invites them into his humble shop. He asks if they've come to buy or sell, and the master replies that they're selling something good. The dealer says he can tell from their aura that they aren't ordinary people and prepares to appraise the items. But upon seeing the objects, he realizes everything is falling apart and worth almost nothing. With a grumpy face, he is disappointed with the quality of the sect's treasures. He even finds a magazine with adult content among the junk they brought. The dealer turns bright red with embarrassment and is shocked by what he found among the things. The master despairs and says that the magazine of the courtesan Leng Yuanyuan is not for sale under any circumstances. The master says the dealer can take everything except the magazine, which Changju asks to borrow later. The dealer offers 10 gold coins for all the junk, but the master finds the price absurd. The old man gets angry and says he needs a sharper eye to see the quality of his items. The master tries to haggle and offers everything for 8 gold coins, but the dealer refuses the offer. He then lowers the price to 5 gold coins and says there's no discussion for anything less. Changju is embarrassed by the scene and tells his master they should just leave. The dealer becomes interested in the painting and asks to take a look at the scroll he's holding. He recognizes the Shiang rice paper and wonders why they have something so expensive. The master is surprised to learn that the paper the rookie used for the painting was so expensive. The man explains that the paper alone is worth more than 10 gold coins, which leaves the old man in shock. Upon seeing the seal of the scholar of the Blue Lotus, the dealer is even more surprised by the painting. With wide eyes, he can't believe what he's seeing right in front of him. He calls one of his assistants to tell him something important about the scroll in his hands. The sect master is completely confused by the commotion the painting caused in the pawn shop. The dealer whispers something in his assistant's ear, who is shocked by the revelation. The guy confirms with his boss if the information is correct, and he says there's no mistake. With a complete change in attitude, the man asks them to wait for the chief manager's appraisal. Changju and his master feel awkward and agree to wait for the more detailed evaluation. An hour later, the dealer returns and says that whoever brought this piece is no beginner. The master starts to say it was just something the junior brother made, but his disciple cuts him off. Changju makes a gesture with his hand and says they want a fair price for the painting they brought. He thinks about betting big and trying to squeeze 50 coins out of them, since they're interested. The dealer becomes thoughtful and analyzes the situation with a very serious expression on his face. The master scolds his disciple, saying that's too greedy and no one would pay that much. But the dealer accepts the offer and says he'll pay 50,000 coins for the painting. The old man brags about his strategy, but Changju is completely shocked by the amount. With wide eyes, the sect master stammers and asks how much he said he would pay. The man confirms the amount and asks if that wasn't what they asked for the artwork. Changju and his master look dumbfounded and accuse the dealer of trying to trick them. The man takes offense and says his shop does not tolerate joking around with such noble clients. The older brother can't believe that a single painting could be worth 50,000 coins. He tells his master to accept it quickly before the dealer changes his mind about the price. The chief manager then appears and says they misunderstood what he meant before. Changju freaks out and curses the old man for going crazy over the 50,000 coin offer. The master confirms the absurd price and says he won't accept a single coin less than that. The older brother asks his master to be reasonable and wonders what kind of painting is worth so much. The dealer laughs and says the old man hit the nail on the head and there will be no haggling with them. He says that 50,000 is a fortune, but for a work by the scholar of the Blue Lotus, it's not absurd. Changju and his master are shocked to hear that 50,000 is not an absurd amount. The old man freaks out inside because he just threw out a high number to try to get more money. The master decides to play along and try to squeeze something more out of the clever dealer. He says he already checked the price in another shop and that they're not the only ones who recognize the work. The dealer confirms that the name of the scholar of the Blue Lotus has already become a legend among them. Even though he's recent, he's already being called the greatest genius of the Jin Kingdom for his sublime calligraphy. The guy's talent for painting is out of this world, and his works are highly sought after. There are women all over the kingdom who go crazy for the poems he writes in his works. They dream of his face every night and wish to catch a glimpse of the great artist. Several stuck-up scholars have humbled themselves trying to imitate or understand his works. His unique style ended up starting a true artistic renaissance throughout the kingdom. But by the time they realized his talent, he had already disappeared without a trace. The scholar of the Blue Lotus threw everything away and vanished, not caring about fame or recognition. The dealer says it's both shameful and admirable, and Changju and his master are shocked by the story. The chief manager looks at them and says the painting has a serious flaw because it's a portrait. Changju laughs, thinking his incomparable beauty would increase the painting's value, but it was the opposite. The master gets furious and whispers that the price is going to drop absurdly because of this. The man says that because it's a portrait, the value drops by tens of thousands of coins down the drain. With eyes red with anger, the master feels like devouring someone alive and raw. The dealer then offers 100,000 coins as the maximum he can pay for the painting. The old man accepts the price without even trying to haggle and asks him to bring the money quickly. The scene takes us to a bustling city with many people and buildings of traditional architecture. The master decides it's better to quit while they're ahead and not risk it at another shop. He says that with their power level, it would be impossible to escape if someone discovered the treasure. Changju praises his master's calmness and cleverness, who brags about being the sect's leader. The two look at the money they got from selling the painting by the Scholar of the Blue Lotus. The old man celebrates that the sect is saved, that they are rich with the 100,000 coins. But he gets angry for having lost a fortune because of the portrait and starts shaking his disciple. The master wonders who little Ye Ping is and how many secrets he's still hiding. Changju thinks maybe the rookie has a secret, or perhaps even he doesn't know about his own talent. The old man decides to keep this to themselves and not to pry into his new disciple's secrets. He then says enough with the small talk, that they need to go somewhere else now. The master says that since the rookie did the sect a favor, he needs to repay him with a gift. They arrive at the Secret Origin Pavilion, a place that looks very luxurious and expensive. The older brother gets scared and asks if his master is thinking of going into that place. He complains that the store is the most expensive in the entire city and that his master is overdoing it a bit. But the old man says the money was earned by the rookie and that they should invest in him. He believes the future of the sect might depend on the growth of his new genius disciple. Changju still thinks a pavilion is too expensive, but the master shows him the money they got. The old man says the secret to looking rich is to act confident and enters the pavilion. Two beautiful women greet them with smiles and invite them into the luxurious place. The master turns all red and is impressed by the luxury and beauty of the Secret Origin Pavilion. The master fans himself with a fan and asks the price of the best manuals they have. The saleswoman says a first-class set goes for 100,000 coins, but there's a discount today. Changju is completely shocked by the absurd price of the manuals in that luxury store. The woman says the price is a little over 100,000 coins and that the offer is for a limited time. The older brother shrinks in sadness, realizing that the world of the rich is not for common people. The master scolds him and tells him to stand firm, because they need to maintain their rich posture. Changju then asks how much just the introductory volume costs, trying for a cheaper option. The saleswoman finds the request strange and says the introductory volume alone is useless. She confirms that it can be bought but warns that they absolutely do not accept returns. The master whispers that spending 10,000 coins on a useless manual is crazy, but his disciple disagrees. Changju remembers that his junior brother understood an entire technique just by seeing a sword mark. With a determined look, he believes that an introductory volume is more than enough. The old man asks the saleswoman which of the 3 introductory volumes is the most powerful. She replies that the river sword technique is the most powerful and can lead to higher levels. But she warns that it's also the most expensive, and just the introductory volume costs 9,000 coins. The master shouts that he'll take the most expensive one and asks the saleswoman to wrap it up for him. He decides to spend the rest of the money on key, refining pills to increase their energy. The older brother is shocked by his master's decision but can't say anything. Changju asks if he's sure he hasn't been possessed, but the master is determined to spend it all. Upon leaving the store, the master cries for having spent all the money, and Changju scolds him for the embarrassing display. Changju remembers that the other junior brothers will be taking their alchemy exams at the end of the year. The master gets angry and tells him not to even think about going back there because there's no money left for them. He then takes him to a secret place full of treasures, which is actually a manual clearance sale. The two find a vendor selling manuals by the pound at a busy street market. Changju looks dumbfounded and asks if that's the secret place full of treasures. The master tells him not to be fooled by the price and that there are many good things hidden there. The old man starts haggling with the vendor and says he'll only buy 5 pounds for 10 coins. The two crouch down and start looking for worthwhile manuals in the middle of the mess. Changju looks closely at the books, trying to find something of value among the junk. He finds some books with very colorful covers and questionable drawings among the manuals. The older brother doesn't understand this madness and thinks you can't even cultivate properly with that stuff. The master is satisfied with the purchase and says it was quite a trip to get the books. Changju asks if his master is going to buy anything for him, but the old man has other plans. He says he's already an old man falling apart and that his joy is seeing the sect do well. The disciple says he's being really cheesy, and the master forbids him from showing off for a year. The old man says that if he learns the basics, he can pretend to be a master and teach the rookie. Changju worries that with his junior brother's absurd talent, he'll see through the fakes. The master laughs and says he was kidding about the origin of his 4 seasons technique. He explains that these manuals are just fantasies and not real cultivation techniques. The old man says that stuff only fools beginners like Ye Ping and that he won't notice. The master explains that the manuals were just to fill shelves and that the sham would end eventually. He laughs and says that if anyone can understand that pile of crap, he'll eat all the books. Changju suggests tricking the junior brother again to get another painting and solve the problem. But the old man is in a dilemma because the painting is worth more than centuries of the sect's effort. He hates this kind of moral dilemma and decides to let it be for now to think it over. The master then changes the subject and says he needs to teach the way of the sword to the rookie. Changju is shocked at the idea of taking his junior brother to the provincial sword conference. He says the rookie may have talent but has no internal cultivation and could end up getting taken out in the fights. The older brother only participated once to fill a spot and luckily managed to get into the top 500. The old man asks him not to tell the other brothers anything and just say he got the money back. On the back mountain, we see the silhouettes of 2 swordsmen training on the cliff top. The rookie is fighting against the image of a golden swordsman with fast and precise movements. Changju cries with envy seeing that the rookie has already learned the force of the sword in such a short time. He finds Yiping training and asks how he's doing with the new sword movements. The older brother asks if he's tired of practicing with the sword every single day without stopping. The rookie says he makes a little progress each day, so he can't say he's gotten tired. Changju gets depressed by the answer and wonders if that's something a normal human being would say. He then offers to get another manual for his junior brother to learn a few more things. Ye Ping shouts that he's very bored and that he really wants to learn new sword techniques. With his eyes gleaming, he thinks that if a sword mark already made him understand so much, a manual will make him ascend. Changju hands the manual to his junior brother and says it's called The Primordial Art of the Demon God. The book's cover shows a strong man facing a demonic creature with sharp teeth. The rookie is amazed by the name and thinks that if it's not a supreme technique, it can't be called Demon God. With a wicked smile, he's even more certain that this is a super powerful reclusive sect. Changju makes up a story that he found the technique in some ancient ruins and that its origin is unknown. He says that a strong body with his understanding of the sword will put him on the same level as any cultivator. The older brother feels ashamed of the lie he's telling but continues with the plan. He says goodbye to the rookie and thinks that if he keeps talking about that garbage, he'll be exposed. With a wicked smile, he thinks that once he learns the basics of the technique, he'll go back to showing off. As night falls, we see the silhouette of the rookie training on the cliff top with his sword in hand. He begins to practice the primordial art of the demon god with very intense sword movements. The name of the technique is so insane that he feels his whole body tingle with excitement. But he knows that to learn it, he needs to be 100% focused and not do it halfway. The guy decides to first stabilize his four thunder sword force so as not to be rash. At Changju's residence on the mountaintop, we see a peaceful place, isolated from the world. The older brother is sitting in a lotus position, trying to learn the technique he bought. He reads the manual carefully but can't understand a single thing written on the pages. With a desperate look, he wonders why he can't learn it if the master said it was easy. Meanwhile, the rookie is already practicing the sword movements with great ease. His strikes are fast and precise, creating trails of golden light all over the place. After half a day of intense training, Yiping finally mastered the four sword techniques. He takes a deep breath, a little tired but satisfied with the result of his hard training. Now he feels that all that's left is to comprehend the sword intent to completely master the technique. The guy understands that the sword intent is the will behind the technique and that he can't rush it. He believes his senior brother gave him the secret manual to prevent him from being hasty. With a smug smile, he realizes that this is just like his brother, who always foresees everything. The rookie then begins to read the manual his senior brother gave him to learn body cultivation. The book is called The Primordial Body Refining Art of the Demon God and seems very powerful. The author of the manual says he lived for 360 million eras until he merged with the heavens. He explains that the technique was something he comprehended by observing the heavens and the earth for eons. A true body cultivator can grasp the sun and the moon and destroy everything with a single punch. At the peak of body cultivation, one must imitate the demon gods and have a demonic body. Ye Ping is shocked by the description of the technique, but at the same time finds it all incredible. The manual warns that to cultivate this art, one must undergo extremely painful trials. But the rookie remembers he was called the King of Studies and is confident he can do it. He opens to the main page and finds a celestial diagram that seems quite simple. His older brother appears in his mind and explains that the diagram was made by a great god. The guy understands the principle but finds the diagram's pose a bit embarrassing and ridiculous. Nevertheless, he begins to imitate the diagram's pose with his arms raised to the golden sky. He turns bright red with embarrassment but trusts that his senior brother wouldn't lie to him. Yiping concentrates and strives to understand the principle behind the diagram's pose. Meanwhile, somewhere in the Jin Kingdom, we see a place with very traditional architecture. A man asks if Miss Mu has finished her manuscript because the deadline is approaching. The woman gets annoyed and says she's almost done and tells him to stop bugging her. The man complains that her book doesn't sell at all and that nobody believes in exaggerated manuals. The young woman gets annoyed with the complaint and says if he keeps complaining, he might as well write it himself. She then asks if he found out what she asked about the 10 Realms Academy. The woman gets excited to hear that enrollment is starting and that there will be many interesting people. 3 days later, the rookie continues to meditate on the mountaintop under the starry sky. He spits up blood for the third time and still hasn't understood anything about the art he's practicing. The manual said that those with talent understand the diagram on the first try, but he can't. He wonders if his comprehension is that bad for not understanding something so simple. But he decides not to give up and to keep trying, as it's in these moments that perseverance is tested. The guy decides to train 22 hours a day with only 2 for rest to master the technique. With great determination, he swears he won't rest until he has completely mastered the technique. He thinks that the simpler the technique, the deeper its principles must be. The guy questions whether the most basic principle would be to contemplate the heavens and the earth, or to see the whole picture. He then remembers having read about the 3 eyes and the 6 supernatural perceptions. The Dharma eye is a higher level of perception that sees the essence and laws of things. With this, he understands that he needs to seek a higher vision that comprehends essence and laws. With that in mind, he focuses on contemplating the heavens and achieving the Dharma eye. Suddenly, an intense light shines beside him, and he feels that something is about to happen. With his eyes glowing, he feels that he's finally starting to understand the principle of the technique. He observes the golden sunset and realizes the true meaning behind the celestial diagram. The guy understands that the sky is not just what we see, but the very heart of Buddhas and demons. He has an enlightenment and realizes that the manual means that each person has their own demon god. The rookie scolds himself for being so foolish and for almost missing the chance to awaken his power. He understands that observing the heavens is actually looking into the world within one's own soul and discovering their demon god. As he meditates, a gentle breeze passes and a colorful aura begins to emanate from his body. He concentrates and feels the presence of something powerful and imposing within his soul. Before him appears the image of a deity with multiple arms, emanating a golden light. With his eyes glowing, he is certain that this is his inner demon god manifesting itself. At the Ten Realms Academy, a blue comet streaks across the starry sky of the back mountain. A man with sharp teeth gets excited and says it's a celestial phenomenon and that a deity has descended. Another guy scolds him for behaving like a demon and not like a cultivator of the righteous path. He says that celestial phenomena don't always mean much and that they shouldn't depend on it. But the demonic-looking man insists, and his senior brother decides to wait and observe the event. He says that if it's really gold, there's no way to hide the glow it emanates for all to see. The blue comet continues to cross the starry sky, shining with an impressive intensity. In the imperial palace of Great Xia, someone observes the same blue comet passing in the night sky. A woman says that the star of Tianling has fallen, indicating the arrival of a new sovereign. The emperor wonders what happens if the deity appears outside the territory of Great Xia. With a determined look, he says that the entire world will belong to Great Xia anyway. In the frozen fields of the demonic beasts, the same comet crosses the green sky of the aurora borealis. A giant creature with red eyes is frozen in the ice with a person in its mouth. Suddenly, a muscular man with white hair bursts out of the beast's mouth with a powerful punch. He has a wild appearance with pointed ears and a body defined by constant battle. With a wicked smile, he wonders if a deity has appeared and finds it all very interesting. He believes the demonic race will have to try even harder with this new threat. At Changji's residence, the full moon illuminates the mountain where he lives with its silvery light. The older brother is about to throw up from reading the manual so much without understanding a single thing. He gets frustrated for not being able to learn the technique and wonders who invented this cultivation. The guy has already gotten used to not being able to cultivate, but the problem now is the debt to his master. He remembers his furious master with a sword in hand demanding his 10,000 coins. Changju knows that Cheapskate will never leave him alone again because of the money. He observes a shooting star in the sky and suddenly feels sad and down for no reason. With a pipe in his mouth, he smokes and wonders if this is that so-called nightly existential crisis. He sighs and questions the meaning of life as he reflects alone in the starry night. The junior sister watches him from afar on the cliff top under the light of the large full moon. She wonders what's gotten into her senior brother, who stares at the stars at this time every day. She asks what the second senior brother thinks about their older brother's situation. Shu Luchin says it must be because the new disciple is weak and the senior brother has no patience. With an imposing pose, he decides that tomorrow he will show what a true master is. The image of the multi-armed demon god appears again before a great sun. The deity has an imposing appearance with glowing eyes and a majestic crown. The rookie is sitting in a lotus position, meditating under the starry night sky. With his eyes glowing, he realizes that this is a body technique that only he can use. The figure of the demon god appears in his consciousness with an overwhelming and powerful presence. Its presence was so strong that you couldn't face it head-on without feeling intimidated. When the deity's omniscient eyes turned to him, a flood of information invaded his mind. The information entered like a wave into his thoughts, revealing the secrets of the technique. In the present, the rookie continues to meditate under the starry sky on the sect's mountain. His eyes glow with an intense blue light as he absorbs all the knowledge. The primordial art uses the heavens as a hammer and the earth as a furnace to be completely reborn. It is divided into 5 levels that represent different demon gods of the Great Tao. The rookie understood that the chapter of the lesser demon god refines the body with the celestial hammer. The secret is to use spiritual energy to connect with the heavens and the earth and forge the body. It is a risky process that requires absurd willpower to endure the pain. The guy understands that the stronger the technique, the greater the demand on the body's endurance. But he despairs when he realizes he has no spiritual energy to practice the technique. He thinks that alchemy pills might generate a little spiritual energy for him to use, but he decides not to risk it, as every medicine has side effects, and he's not a cultivator yet. Meanwhile, at the second senior brother's residence, we see a house on a snowy mountain. The guy is practicing alchemy, holding a glowing pill that emanates orange flames. He feels confident and says that tomorrow he will show his older brother what it means to be a true example. At the older brother's residence, the house is situated on a mountain peak with a clear sky. Changju is on his knees, completely depressed for not being able to learn the technique. He yells that he doesn't understand anything and that none of it makes any sense to him. The guy throws himself on the floor and decides to relax because if he doesn't even try, he can't fail. He thinks that in the end, everything is useless because effort and success have no value in the grand scheme of things. The sect master appears and observes him with a serious expression while he is lying down. With a smile on his face, he approaches his disciple, who seems to have given up on everything. He asks how the guy is doing and if he managed to comprehend the technique that cost 9,000 coins. With an enlightened smile, Changju says that peace only comes when you stop worrying. The old man is startled by the Buddhist light and asks what the kid has been cultivating around there. The disciple says he has given up on everything and has cultivated absolutely nothing in that time. The master then decides they will pay a visit to the Silent Forest mountain together. He says a life or death test might help achieve a breakthrough, and the guy agrees. But the older brother gets scared as he remembers the reputation of the Silent Forest mountain. The region is the most dangerous in the Blue Province, and even disciples from strong sects often perish there. The master decides he's going to hunt demonic beasts to sell and will no longer trick Yiping. Changju runs in desperation and says he's not going to the Silent Forest because his life is worth more. At the Four Thunder Sword sect, one of the three great sects of the Blue Province, an elder praises his disciples for having advanced with the Spring Thunder technique. 7 of them reached the grand conclusion, and 2 reached the peak of perfection with the technique. He is proud and says they are truly the greatest talents in the Blue Province. But he warns that the Sword Conference is a different event and that no one can relax. The disciples are surprised to learn that the sect master will train them personally. The elder also reveals that hidden sects from the Blue Province will send disciples to the competition. One of the guys gets worried because the participation of hidden sects will complicate things. Legend has it that a great war happened in the 10 realms, and many sects went into hiding. In the main hall of the Four Thunder Sword sect, the atmosphere is imposing and grand. Several masters and elders greet the sect master with great respect and formality. The sect master is a man with white hair, 2 swords on his back, and a strong presence. He says he has gathered them to discuss a very important matter for the sect's future. One of the elders asks if the matter has to do with the token of the profound sword tower. But the master denies it and asks if they have ever heard of the 10 Realms Academy. One of the women wonders if the legendary academy is going to recruit new students again. The 10 Realms Academy is the most prestigious and transforms even the weakest students into legends. The master reveals that the imperial court of the Jin Kingdom will send an emissary to recruit talents. The elders are curious to know who the sect master has chosen for the academy. He explains that the imperial court holds a position slightly above the immortal sects on the continent. The master then shows a painting to the elders as a clue about the special emissary. They recognize the style of the scholar of the Blue Lotus and are amazed by the beauty of the painting. The elders wonder if the person in the painting is the special emissary who will recruit them. They remember that the scholar of the Blue Lotus disappeared 6 months ago and wonder where he might be. The master reveals that in the court of the Jin Kingdom, there is a legendary swordsman who is a genius from the academy. The hermit's new painting appeared in the Jin Kingdom, and they say the commander is a formidable swordsman. One of the elders asks if there is any concrete proof that all this isn't just speculation. With a confident smile, the sect master says that of course he has concrete proof. He throws the scroll into the air, and an intense golden energy emanates from the painting for all to see. The energy is so strong that the elders are pushed back by the impact of the aura. They feel the sword intent present in the painting and are shocked by the power it emanates. The master points to the figure in the painting and asks if they still think he's wrong. He explains that the painting carries the sword intent and that the artist has reached a high level of understanding. All the elders praise their master's impressive perception for drawing such conclusions. The master brags and says that naturally he would be able to notice something so important. He says that the commander doesn't care about wealth or women and only likes to travel and see the world. One of the elders comments that some masters give flying swords to peasants in exchange for fruit. He then asks the master what they should do to please such an eccentric emissary. The master tells them not to kiss up to the emissary and to keep everything a secret. He thinks he's a sage and wonders what would become of the sect without his incredible intelligence. As night falls elsewhere, the rookie is meditating on top of a mountain. He decides not to cultivate the primordial art for now because it's dangerous and resolves to ask his senior brother. Suddenly, someone calls him and he turns to see who is approaching. The guy introduces himself as the sect's second senior brother, Shu Luchin, and asks to be called that. The rookie is surprised and wonders why the second senior brother came to see him personally. He greets brother Luchin with a respectful bow, as is the custom of the sect. The guy explains that the older brother is busy and asked him to teach about pills. Yiping worries that he finds his talent too weak, and that's why he came personally to help him. But brother Luchin comforts him and tells him not to worry, as everyone has their own path. The rookie fills with determination and says he will strive to be recognized by his brother. He points a finger to the sky, and an intense green energy begins to emanate from his hand. A large sphere of green energy forms above him with an impressive and pure power. The energy transforms into a glowing green cauldron that floats in the air between the two. Luchin says they should start by refining some pills for the rookie to learn the basics. The guy looks seriously at the rookie and prepares to start the alchemy lesson. He explains that the Tao of alchemy holds the mysteries of heaven and earth and is very profound. The question about the most powerful alchemist sounds familiar to the rookie, who becomes thoughtful. He remembers the question his first senior brother asked about the pinnacle of the sword. With his eyes gleaming, the rookie wonders if his second senior brother is also a hidden master. He answers that an alchemist can challenge the heavens and change fate with their pills. Therefore, even the most powerful must treat alchemists with the utmost respect and admiration. But Luchin says he's thinking too small and encourages him to imagine something bolder. The rookie says the most powerful pill should be able to change a person's physique and grant immortality. The senior brother explains that a supreme alchemist doesn't refine pills, but heaven and earth themselves. Yiping is shocked by the idea of each pill being an entire world and finds the concept terrifying. To him, everything is a pill. The sky, the earth, and the entire universe fitting into a single object. The rookie gets super excited again and realizes that the Tao of alchemy is not inferior to that of the sword. He asks if his second senior brother has already reached that level, and the guy replies, more or less. The guy freaks out with joy upon discovering that his second brother is also an unparalleled hidden master. Luchin thinks his lie was too good and worries he's been spending too much time with Changju. Yiping then asks him to refine a pill of heaven and earth for him to see what it's like. The senior brother says he hasn't yet come into contact with the Tao of alchemy and can only teach the basics. He explains that, as they say, every medicine has its poison, and not even the best alchemist can remove it all. Luchin thinks that if his peers heard him say that, they'd slap him silly. He continues the lie and says that the poison in the pills comes from the herbs themselves used in refining. If you remove the poison, the medicinal effect of the pill is also completely lost in the process. The senior brother reveals that the secret to poison-free alchemy is not to use herbs in the process. He says it sounds absurd, but the rookie only disbelieves because he doesn't understand the principle yet. He says that when he was immortal, he wouldn't have believed it if someone told him that immortals could open the gates of heaven. The rookie understands it's like being a frog at the bottom of a well, with no idea of the vastness of the world. Luchin explains that the life of herbs comes from spiritual energy, which gets contaminated by the QI of the 5 elements. Poison-free alchemy condenses the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to create supreme-grade pills. Yiping wonders if it's possible to create supreme-grade pills without raw materials and thinks it makes sense. He asks if someone like him without a spiritual root can take Q-condensing pills. The senior brother says he can, but the effect is weak, and the pills cost a fortune to buy. The rookie gets disheartened but wonders what he's going to do about his spiritual power problem. Luchin then prepares to teach the basics of alchemy to his junior brother with the cauldron. He thinks his disciple is well-behaved and example to follow, unlike Changju. In the Jinglan Mountains, a place with a landscape of rocky peaks and dense fog everywhere, the master and the older brother walk through the forest in search of demonic beasts to hunt. Changju worries that brother Luchin can't take care of the sex-nude disciple on his own, but the master says he is calm and has a strong heart and can handle anything. Suddenly, the older brother feels something strange and stops, walking with an alert expression. He is startled by a noise and asks what that sound was that came from the middle of the dark forest. A small rat with a unicorn horn jumps out of a bush, scaring the guy. The master laughs at his disciple's fright and says there are no large demonic beasts around there. But right after, a giant beast with crystals on its back appears, roaring at the two of them. Early in the morning at the second senior brother's residence, the sun illuminates the mountains. The rookie stretches and prepares for another day of training at the Blue Cloud sect. He walks through the ancient temple and admires the beauty of the nature around him with a smile. But he gets discouraged when he remembers he has no spiritual energy to cultivate in this world. He decides to go to the library pavilion to absorb as much knowledge about cultivation as possible. Upon arriving, he is impressed by the simple and clean style of the sect's pavilion. The guy believes this is the true style of a hidden sect that doesn't care about appearances. He wonders why there is only one incense stick in the burner in the sect's main hall. With a goofy smile, he thinks it's impossible for a sect like this to be poor and have no money. He understands that sincerity is what matters, that the great Tao is in the small details. The rookie pushes open the pavilion doors and enters the library in search of knowledge. He walks through the corridors filled with books and marvels at the number of works. The shelves are full of manuals with incredible names and powerful techniques written in them. He finds books on the Heavenly Emperor's sword style and other divine abilities. The guy is shocked to see secret books scattered on the shelves without any protection. With his eyes gleaming, he is certain that this is indeed a hidden sect and is loving everything. But he calms down and remembers that the more excited he gets, the more he needs to keep a cool head. With his mouth watering, he controls himself and decides he will read everything one step at a time. He begins to read one of the library's books one step at a time, as if it were a meal. The next day, the sun rises on the horizon, illuminating the sect's courtyard with its golden rays. The rookie wakes up with the sunlight and sighs tiredly after a long night of studying. He laments that he was just starting to get into the rhythm, but it's already time for today's training. At least he now understands the basics of the world and its cultivation methods after reading so much. The guy never imagined that the power of the imperial dynasty was so great in the cultivation world. He regrets having participated in the assessment ceremony if he had known all this before. With a smile on his face, he thinks this must be that bad luck turning into good luck from the books. Suddenly, a girl calls him, and he turns to see who is behind him. She approaches with a smile and asks what he's doing there alone in the library. The young woman introduces herself as his senior sister, Chen Lingru, and greets him with pleasure. The rookie turns bright red and his jaw drops upon such a beautiful senior sister. She notices he's blushing and asks why, but he plays it off by saying it's hot. The senior sister encourages him to keep striving and says she will teach him the great supreme Tao. He wonders if she is also a hidden master like the others he has met in the sect. But he scolds himself for daydreaming and thinks she looks younger than him to be a master. The guy then says he wanted to ask her something, and she replies that he can ask. He shows her a manual and asks if he can cultivate the technique written in the book. The girl is surprised to see that he picked up the method of the 3,600 immortal apertures. She says of course he can and wonders why he wouldn't be able to cultivate that technique. The rookie worries about having a QI deviation if he cultivates without having spiritual energy in his body. But the senior sister says the techniques are basic and it would be impossible to have a QI deviation. She thinks that all this stuff is just a cheap copy and it would be a miracle if he managed to have a deviation. The senior sister turns and asks what happened to make him so emotional. With tears in his eyes, the rookie says that his spiritual root can finally be saved. He explains that he found the cultivation method that suits him best, and that's why he's happy. She encourages him to dedicate himself even more and asks him to call her senior sister Linger. The girl says goodbye, mentioning she was just passing by, and the rookie thanks her for the quick chat. With a smile, he goes back to reading the manual he got from the library to learn more about cultivation. The main idea of the 3,600 immortal apertures method is quite simple. The human body holds many healed treasures that are sealed by acupuncture points. For each immortal aperture that is unblocked, the speed of spiritual energy absorption doubles. The rookie's biggest problem is his weak talent and his low capacity to absorb energy. He believes that if he masters this method, he will be able to compensate for this major flaw. The guy already has an initial understanding of the Four Thunder Sword technique. He has also learned about the primordial art of the demon god from his older brother. And from his second senior brother, he learned about poison-free alchemy and its secrets. The rookie gets anxious and can't even imagine the power he'll have when he has spiritual energy. He decides to stop thinking and start cultivating the immortal apertures method right now. Meanwhile, in the Jinglan Mountains, a large explosion occurs in the middle of the forest. The sect master is panting and injured after facing the giant demonic beast. Changyu is lying on the ground while his master fights against the beast with crystals on its back. The old man yells for his disciple to run because he still has an evasion talisman in his pocket. Changyu tells his master to stay still and that they are not completely out of options. The old man is impressed by his disciple's attitude and wonders when he became so confident. The older brother unleashes a powerful blue aura and prepares to face the demonic beast. The master wonders if the boy is hiding a supreme move but doesn't think he can win. With a leap, he charges towards the beast, his sword glowing with an intense blue light. With his eyes gleaming and a determined smile, he prepares to attack the giant creature. He yells for the beast to go to heck and delivers a powerful strike with all his might. The attack cuts the beast's paw, but it remains standing and seems not to have felt the blow much. Changyu falls to the ground, exhausted and injured, after using all his energy in the surprise attack. The master is shocked and wonders if that was all his disciple could do against the beast. The guy says he's put on his show and can now pass on without regrets. The beast becomes enraged by the attack and starts spinning, creating a whirlwind of pink energy. It fires a concentrated blast of energy towards the two with devastating power. The two cry and say their goodbyes, thinking they are going to perish right there after that attack. Suddenly, a female voice asks what kind of demon dares to act that way in her presence. The demonic beast is hit by an invisible force and thrown far away with great violence. A huge explosion of flames occurs where the creature landed, raising a lot of dust and smoke. Changyu and his master watch the scene in shock, not understanding what just happened. The guy is surprised to see the clothes of the person who saved them and seems to recognize her. Several people observe the remains of the demonic beast scattered on the forest floor. A woman asks what two weak cultivators are doing in the Jinglan Mountains. Changyu yells to his master and points at the woman, saying she is the third elder of the sword sect. The woman hears the shout and turns to face them with a serious and intimidating expression. With tears in his eyes, the older brother tries to apologize but is too scared to speak. His vision blurs with fear, and he wonders if that isn't the special emissary. The woman's disciples recognize Changyu as the guy from the portrait of the special emissary. The elder tries to calm down and remembers what the sect master told them to do. The master and disciple panic and try to keep calm, even though they are from a large sect. The two groups stare at each other in an awkward silence in the middle of the dark and foggy forest. The disciples from the other sect look at Changyu with a strange and admiring expression. The master and his disciple look dumbfounded, not understanding the other's reaction. Changyu wonders why they are staring at him in that weird way and gets scared. He gets even more nervous, and his old habit of becoming cold and serious when tense appears. The disciples from the other sect get chills from his gaze and recognize him as a master. The elder tries to start a conversation and asks what the two dear Taoists are doing there. The master of the Blue Cloud sect is confused by the sudden politeness and doesn't know how to respond. With a desperate look, he stammers and says they were just taking a walk around. An atmosphere of awkwardness and second-hand embarrassment takes over the place after the old man's response. Suddenly, the woman notices that the master of the Blue Cloud sect is injured and gets worried. She approaches him with a concerned expression and asks if he's okay. The woman offers a spiritual skin pill that heals wounds to the sect master. Changju and his master scream in astonishment upon learning the pill is worth over 1,000 taels of gold. They become suspicious of the kindness and wonder why she is treating them so well. The older brother refuses the pill and says they have an urgent appointment to get to. One of the woman's disciples stops them and says he has a question to ask them. Changju panics, thinking he knew the help wouldn't be free and that they had ulterior motives. The master is afraid they want to laugh at them for being from a small sect. The guy asks, in their opinion, what the path of the sword is, and Changju prepares to answer. The master of the Blue Cloud sect is shocked and wonders what kind of absurd question that is. The older brother activates his play the big shot. Modin says the question is excellent. With an imposing pose, he says the guy asked the right person about the path of the sword. The master despairs and asks his disciple not to show off because they are from a large sect. Changju picks up a blade of grass and says that this is the true path of the sword. The elder and her disciples are shocked by the profound and unexpected answer from the guy. With a master's pose, he repeats that a single blade of grass is the path of the sword. The woman doesn't understand how a blade of grass can be the path of the sword and gets irritated. The sect master turns bright red with embarrassment and wants to bury his head in a hole. Changju explains that the path of the sword begins in the heart, and where the heart goes, the sword follows. With his eyes closed, he recites a poem about a sword that shatters the stars with its power. He thinks the secret to seeming profound is to say things that no one really understands. The woman is shocked by the answer and tries to understand the meaning behind his words. One of the disciples says he had an enlightenment and finally understood the path of the sword. The guy gets excited about his discovery, and the others are confused by his reaction. But the elder despairs for not having understood anything and wonders if her comprehension is terrible. The other disciples also say they understood everything and praise the sword master's simplicity. The master of the Blue Cloud sect wonders if they are confusing him with someone else. With a grumpy face, he gets annoyed and wonders what the heck they understood. Changju decides to let it go and walks away, saying he has said all he needed to. He says goodbye and mentions that how much they absorb depends solely on each of them. The woman is impressed and says that now they can brag about having met a real master. Meanwhile, on the sect's back mountain, the rookie continues to meditate in search of power. With his eyes closed, he concentrates to locate the immortal apertures in his body. He observes the starry sky and reflects on his progress in cultivating the new technique. The guy manages to locate the immortal aperture, but doesn't know how to get energy to activate it. He laments having a horrible spiritual root and wonders where he's going to get so much energy. The rookie feels that the basic breathing technique is more complex than it appears to be. He realizes that guiding QI seems easy, but everyone is just copying without truly understanding. It's like math in his past life, where everyone knows 1 + 1 is 2 but doesn't know why. He believes that if he can understand the own +1 of spiritual energy, he'll be ready to follow his path. Whether it works or not, he is determined to follow a path different from everyone else's. He decides he can't waste any more time and that he needs to act to get spiritual energy. 7 days pass, and the rookie continues to meditate with birds perched on his shoulders. But he sighs in frustration because he has made no progress in his cultivation during all this time. He decides to let it go for now and watches the birds flying in the golden dawn sky. At Yiping's residence on the mountaintop, the scenery is peaceful and serene as always. The guy decides to paint something to clear his mind and calm down a bit. He looks at the landscape and thinks the day is beautiful for painting a lovely scene. Suddenly, the second senior brother appears and calls out to him, surprising the rookie. Luchin says he didn't know he painted and compliments him on his artistic talent. He then asks the rookie to make a portrait of him, as he's been wanting one for a while. The guy agrees and asks if he wants him to draw a landscape along with the portrait. But the senior brother says he doesn't need to, and that a simple portrait is just fine for him. Yeping agrees to do a good job and says he was thinking about how to repay his teachings. After a while, he finishes the painting and hands it to his second senior brother. Luchin is surprised by the speed and opens the scroll to see the result of the painting. Upon seeing the portrait, he wonders if he is really as handsome as the painting portrayed him. He praises the rookie's talent and says he didn't expect him to be so good at painting. The guy then offers to write a poem along with the painting to make it more complete. But the senior brother refuses, saying the important thing is that the portrait looks like him, not that it has a poem. He says he was just worried about his safety and that now he can go back without any worries. Luchin thinks about showing the portrait to prove that his beauty rivals that of his older brother. The rookie feels like he had a slight sense of enlightenment while painting the portrait. He decides to paint something else to confirm and begins to create a pure landscape, which is his specialty. With a brush in hand, he begins to trace the lines of his new work of art with mastery. With a single touch, he starts to create the scene of his painting with a golden sun background. He outlines the mountains with quick and precise movements like a true master. The sunlight illuminates the scene as he continues to paint with great concentration and talent. With a single stroke, he creates the horizon of the landscape with impressive skill. He adds the shadows and details to the painting with quick, energetic brush strokes. The guy finishes the work of art with one last brushstroke, creating an effective movement. The black and white painting shows a landscape of mountains with clouds and flying birds. With his eyes gleaming, he seems to have had a new enlightenment upon finishing his artwork. He understands that painting is the Tao, and that the Tao of painting is to follow the heart and nature. With his eyes closed, he feels the connection between the brush, the heart, and the nature around him. His eyes open, glowing with an intense blue light as he reaches a new level of understanding. He observes the constellations in the starry sky and understands the true meaning of the Tao. The guy realizes that instead of forcing energy in, it's better to open the mind and merge with the world. The spiritual energy that wants to merge will merge on its own, and the one that doesn't, you don't need to force. With that, he feels the world's energy flowing into his body naturally. A red creature with glowing eyes appears amidst a whirlwind of blue and white energy. A pink and purple energy dragon descends from the heavens with a majestic and powerful presence. With his eyes glowing, the rookie observes the creature, not understanding what is happening there. The flame dragon's immortal aperture expands and begins to reveal ancient inheritances. With a shocked expression, he wonders if that is the flame dragon, the torch of the nine yin. He remembers reading that the flame dragon was one of the most feared divine beasts. The creature masters time and space and is described as the creator of all things in the world. The guy believes that now that his immortal aperture is open, he can cultivate the primordial art. He looks at the painting he made and prepares to begin his body cultivation training. With a serene expression, he concentrates to begin his path in the world of cultivation. But before starting, he decides to adjust the painting to reflect his new enlightenment. With a touch, he pushes away the clouds and reveals the blue sky in the painting, changing the work completely.